Formula One is facing yet another major controversy, and this time it's a familiar nightmare returning to haunt the teams. Reports indicate that porpoising could make a comeback in 2025, sending shockwaves through the paddock. Teams and drivers are already voicing their concerns, as new regulations may lead to a resurgence of the violent bouncing phenomenon that disrupted the 2022 season. This unexpected development has raised questions about how the new technical changes will impact performance, driver safety, and the competitive balance on the grid. Let's get started. The root cause of this issue lies in the upcoming 2025 technical directive that will significantly reduce the flexibility of front wings. The FIA has decided to implement stricter regulations regarding aerodynamic components, particularly targeting flexible front wings, to maintain fair competition. However, this change could have unintended consequences, one of which is the return of porpoising due to the loss of a key aerodynamic stabilizing tool. Flexible front wings play a crucial role in managing airflow across the car, helping teams balance downforce efficiently to maintain stability on straights and through corners. By banning these elements, teams may struggle to optimize their aerodynamic setups, leading to increased fluctuations in downforce. This could bring back the violent bouncing motion that plagued the 2022 season, as cars might once again suffer from uncontrollable vertical oscillations at high speeds. Teams are already wary of how this regulation might disrupt their development paths, especially as they work toward designing completely new cars for the 2026 regulations. If porpoising returns in 2025, it could mean yet another round of rushed fixes, compromises on performance, and mid-season rule clarifications from the FIA, much like what happened in 2022. Porpoising is an aerodynamic instability caused by the way F1 cars generate downforce using ground effect aerodynamics. The concept revolves around channeling air underneath the car to create suction, which presses the car closer to the track, improving grip and speed. However, if this suction effect becomes too strong, the car can be pulled too close to the ground, causing an airflow disruption. When airflow stalls under the car, downforce is lost instantly, making the car bounce back up. As soon as it rises, airflow resumes, creating downforce again, and pulling the car downward once more. This cycle repeats rapidly, leading to the aggressive bouncing motion known as porpoising. During the 2022 season, this phenomenon became a major issue for multiple teams, with some struggling far more than others. It was particularly severe for Mercedes, whose drivers Lewis Hamilton and George Russell suffered extreme discomfort on straights, with Hamilton even experiencing severe back pain and physical strain after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The issue also impacted performance, making the car unpredictable and difficult to set up effectively for each race weekend. The FIA was forced to intervene in mid-2022 as porpoising became a serious safety concern. They introduced Technical Directive TD039, which set a limit on how much vertical movement a car could experience before being deemed unsafe. If a team exceeded this limit, they would be forced to adjust their setup, even if it meant losing performance. For the 2023 season, additional rule changes were introduced to prevent teams from designing cars that were prone to porpoising. These included raising the floor edges by 15 millimeters, adjusting the diffuser throat height, and enforcing stricter regulations on plank wear to ensure that teams weren't exploiting loopholes in the rules. These measures helped significantly reduce porpoising, allowing teams to focus on extracting performance rather than just battling bouncing issues. However, with 2025's regulation changes, teams are concerned that porpoising could return in full force, creating yet another challenge just before the biggest regulatory overhaul in 2026. Before we continue, we hope you're enjoying our video. If so, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more news and updates from the F1 world. The possibility of porpoising making a return in 2025 has sparked intense discussions among teams, engineers, and drivers. Teams like Mercedes are particularly concerned about how they will adapt to this issue if it reappears under the new rules. Mercedes struggled heavily with porpoising during the early part of the ground effect era and spent most of the time trying to mitigate the problem without compromising performance. They had to experiment with different floor designs, suspension setups, and ride heights in an attempt to control the bouncing effect. But it wasn't until late 2022 and into 2023 that they started to get a grip on the issue. For a team like Red Bull, who seemed to have found a natural solution to porpoising early on, the upcoming regulation changes may not affect them as much. However, teams like Ferrari, McLaren, and Aston Martin will be watching closely to see how these changes impact their aerodynamic stability. If porpoising returns, it could disrupt their development strategies and force them to rethink their car concepts just as they prepare for the all-new 2026 regulations. With teams already raising concerns, many are wondering how the FIA will respond if porpoising becomes a major issue once again in 2025. While the FIA's primary goal with the 2025 changes is to create a more level playing field, they will be closely monitoring the situation in case unexpected issues arise. One possibility is that the FIA may introduce new mid-season technical directives, much like they did in 2022 when the severity of porpoising became undeniable. Another potential action could be revising the ride height or floor regulations once again to prevent extreme vertical oscillations. However, making mid-season changes is never ideal, as it disrupts teams' development cycles and can create an unfair advantage for certain teams that may have already adapted better to the situation. If porpoising becomes a major issue by the first few races of 2025, the FIA will have to decide whether to let teams figure it out themselves or step in early to enforce new limits on aerodynamic behavior. If porpoising does return in 2025, it could completely reshape the competitive order of the grid. Teams that struggle to control the bouncing may find themselves losing valuable performance, while others who manage the issue better could gain a significant advantage, as porpoising was a huge factor in Mercedes' struggles, allowing Red Bull and Ferrari to dominate the early part of the season. If a similar situation arises in 2025, we could see certain teams falling behind early on, forcing them to make compromises on setup and development just to keep their cars stable. Midfield teams like Alpine, Williams, and Haas could also benefit if the top teams struggle, as they may be able to capitalize on early season chaos before solutions are found. If porpoising does become a major issue again, the teams that adapt the quickest will be the ones who stay ahead in the championship fight. With just one season left before these changes come into effect, all eyes will be on preseason testing in early 2025. Teams will be working around the clock to analyze how the new rules impact their cars, and if porpoising starts to appear again, we could see emergency solutions being implemented before the first race. Fans should prepare for a season filled with technical challenges, unexpected performance shifts, and potential controversies as teams scramble to adapt. Whether the FIA steps in early or lets teams fight their own aerodynamic battles, one thing is certain: 2025 could be one of the most unpredictable seasons in recent F1 history. This is the wrap of today's video. What do you think? Will porpoising shake up the grid again, or will the FIA step in before it's too late? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an F1 update. See you in the next one.